And we continue at 2:05 in the afternoon. Talk Radio 790 KABC, the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, we have the latest when it comes to the Eaton fire in the Pasadena-Altadena area. They have 0% containment. It's staying steady at 10,600 acres. Many structures have been destroyed. Lives have been lost. But the newest news is if you happen to be anywhere in the Pasadena area, do not drink the water. There is a do not drink order in place. There is debris. There is turbidity in the water. It could hurt you. Drink only bottled water.
Have we determined the origins of any of the fires yet?
Not yet. I don't think we're going to get that for a while. Or when it comes to the 10 freeway, we never find out.
Henry Winkler is on Twitter.
The Fonzie?
Yeah. He's claiming that it's arson.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Here's what he tweeted. There is, in all caps, an arsonist, in all caps, here in L.A. May you be beaten, you unrecognizable, the pain you have caused.
Was that from actually Henry Winkler?
I think so.
It's Twitter. Could just be a guy who says he's Henry Winkler.
That's true.
Doesn't matter. There's no rules anymore.
We're going to have to wait for Ron Howard to weigh in, though, for confirmation. What are you going to do? All right, let's go back to the press conference from our dearly elected leaders regarding the fires here in California.
Let's go back to this morning when Karen Bass had to address what was going on with the fire hydrants in the Palisades, which, by the way, literally Biden was talking about just a few minutes ago. So this isn't some made-up thing.
Yeah, Josh Haskell, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Mayor Bass, I've been on the fire lines the last 2 days. I've never seen firefighters this desperate. At fire hydrants, water not coming.
Have you noticed a different tone from the local press?
Yeah, they're not kissing her ass the way they used to.
At fire hydrants, water not coming out. The pressure so low. The number one tool that they use to fight these fires, not there. How frustrated are you about that? And also, I'm getting texts right now from the Palisades Highlands community. We're almost 48 hours after this fire started. There's not resources up there. The hydrants aren't working. Where's the National Guard? Where are miles and miles of water tenders? How are we addressing this?
Well,
Your reaction?
First of all, you asked me, was I frustrated by this? Of course, because we all know that this has been an unprecedented event. We also know that fire hydrants are not constructed to deal with this type of massive devastation.
What?
That's why they're there. Fire hydrants are there to be used during a fire when you have to use a lot of water all at once to put the fire out.
And if it's too windy for the planes to fly, what do we just throw our hands up in the air?
And that the number one problem, especially on Wednesday, was the fact that we weren't able to do the air support because of the winds. And so,
how did we fight fires before planes?
What she's saying makes no sense. Of course, there's a fire. Conditions are going to be difficult. You know this going into it.
And so, of course, I am absolutely frustrated by that. I am not sure that is correct, that there are no resources up there, but rest assured, as soon as we are done here, I will follow up on that.
But those homes, the first day and a half, there were homes up there that had been protected by the fire. And then I went up there yesterday and there were
that had been protected?
That it basically had been saved. Obviously, the fire's moving different directions, but when I went up there yesterday, there were not a lot of resources. We drove around, and then I know that things got worse up there. I'm just wondering, now that we move 48 hours past, how are we addressing these water problems that are continuing, and is it acceptable that they continue?
Well, let me just say that the water problems are a little better now because the winds are such that we can go up and have the air support. And
yeah, but how about the hydrants?
Yeah. She doesn't want to talk about that.
And you know that was the reason that the devastation was so bad. The unprecedented wind, the strength of the wind, and the fact that the air support could not go up.
And if Chief Crowley wants to talk to this, there have been many fires before where air support is not available. and we depend upon these ground resources and crews. Was there a plan in place for that, and did the resources get here quickly enough? And talk about an update to air support today.
How hard was it to get a hold of the mayor in Ghana?
Oh, she was on American Airlines.
Right. So thank you for that question.
This is Chief Crowley.
Right. So thank you for that question. As we know, and you heard all of the incidents that are occurring at this point. Palisades was the first brush fire that we were attacking at that moment. You talk about specific pre-deploying. We put resources in place, pre-deploying, knowing that the winds were coming. With that, when the fire did light and take off, rapid response. Very dynamic situation.
Catherine Barger, why are you whispering to somebody when we're trying to hear what's going on here?
Because she knows this isn't going well.
Very dynamic situation. Air to ground resources coordinating. Now, with the winds, I don't think we can overstate that enough. There's no excuse in regard to the winds were too much, but the reality is...
Well, that was literally what Karen Bass was just doing.
Yeah, she just made excuses.
In regard to the winds were too much, but the reality is the winds are so dynamic, and at that tipping point, when our resources, air resources were grounded, that changes our strategies and tactics. We called for the world in regard to the number of resources and what we needed, who we needed, immediate need. Every single resource that was available at that moment responded. You talked about 48 hours later, where are we now, right? Again, I already spoke on if we don't have water, we find water, we use water tenders, we draft water.
We steal water from the pool.
It seems like she's got a great plan, and she's got plans B, C, D, E, and F. But why weren't those plans employed when you needed them?
The fire department, first responders, we're going to do everything in our absolute effort to do what we can do with what we've got. The good news is, with the wind subsiding, you're going to see water drops, you're going to see rotary, you're going to see fixed wings all day, unless something changes. Again, I did say 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts even today. So very, very dynamic situation. With that, also, you said about the other homes, no fire resources there. As winds change, our resources change, we redistribute, we move, and that's the dynamic situation that we are in, even in day 3. That's what I wanted to say about that.
We'll
Thank
go
you.
right behind. Go ahead.
So there was that question.
None of that is acceptable. And I know it's difficult. I know that they had very extreme circumstances when that fire broke out. But again, that's why you have training. That's why you have plans. It's not the first time we've experienced something like this. It seems like they were not prepared. And this, by the way, is different from an earthquake. You have an earthquake that causes infrastructure to go down, causes buildings to go down, whatever the case may be. You have no clue when the earthquake's coming. We knew a week prior to the heavy winds what was coming. And the mayor decided to leave the country anyway, and the fire department was caught flat-footed. We have fire resources that we sent to Ukraine.
I think
and then disaster hit.
We're in a situation where we got to start treating a heavy wind day like you would treat a hurricane in the South.
Yes, because the threat of fires is so extreme. You have a fire that gets out of control very quickly. It can create billions of dollars in damage, which is what we saw.
Karen Bass was also asked about the fact that the LAFD had a budget cutting.
Thank you very much. Madam Mayor, I have another question for you. Bob DeCastro over here from Good Day LA, Fox 11. Another issue, another concern about resources and in particular staffing as well. And we heard from firefighters even on the front lines expressing frustrations about, obviously it's a challenge right now. They're bringing in firefighters from...
Every single news reporter has somebody that they're like texting back and forth with that is giving them all the dirt. Because the guys on the line know what's going on, and they're working their asses off.
Well, when this was all first going down, and you had people that were disputing whether or not water was coming out of the fire hydrants, it was the firefighters on the ground that confirmed it. Management did not confirm it right away. The on-the-line firefighters did.
Firefighters from all across the Western region. But can you address the criticism now over the budget issue and the slashing, $17 million slashing
I think
of the
if
budget?
you go back and look at the reductions that were made, there were no reductions that were made that would have impacted the situation that we were dealing with over the last couple of days. And
More
then there was a
firefighters on the
little
front
bit,
line would have
there
not
was a
helped.
little bit
Nobody is kissing Karen Bass's ass anymore.
No, she cut the budget. And she cut the budget because when we talk about defunding the police, it's really more than that. What they want to do is defund, quote unquote, public safety. So they want to shut the jails down. They want to reduce the size of the fire department. They want to reduce the size of the police department. That's really what they mean, because they need to find extra money for their beloved ambassadors, for their harm reduction task forces, those sorts of things. They want the money for their pet projects to give to all those crooked homeless organizations, and they need to get it, and they get it by going after public safety.
And
More
then there was a
firefighters on the
little
front
bit
line would have
there
not
was a
helped.
little bit of confusion because money was allocated to be distributed later on, which was actually going to support salaries and other parts of the fire department that were distributed a little later. So I think it's most important to understand that we were in tough budgetary times. Everybody knew that, but that the
Did you take a pay cut?
No, she didn't.
Did Ulysses take a pay cut?
No, she didn't.
How about Marquise?
Nope.
How about John Lee?
Nope.
Could do this all day. There's 15 of them.
but that the impact of our budget really did not impact.
How about the new head of the DWP that makes $750K a year? Her predecessor made $350K.
And she can't manage to keep the water on in the fire hydrants.
Really did not impact what we've been going through over the last few days. Again, back to the unprecedented windstorm.
It was so windy. You don't understand. It's not my fault.
I love the fact that cutting the budget by $17 million in her mind means nothing.
To the unprecedented windstorm, when at such ferocity that we haven't seen in years, is the context in which we were dealing with it. Thank you.
You know, at first I was convinced that she's going to be okay, that the public won't punish her. We live in a very democratic state, a very democratic city. She has the support of the Democratic Party. There's nothing that she can do that would cause her to lose the election. But she is so bad at this. She is so bad. And her being bad at her job is causing people's lives to be destroyed. Maybe people will start voting different. I don't know. They did in the DA's race. The Democratic Party never withdrew their support of George Gascon, and he still managed to lose. And he lost by a lot. Prop 36 passed by a lot. So people did, Democrats did, break from their party on those two particular races. Will they for mayor? I don't know. I know people who had to be evacuated. I know people who had to leave their cars on Sunset Boulevard because they couldn't get anywhere. They couldn't get out of Dodge, who voted for her and who are, generally speaking, committed Democrats who vote a straight party line ticket every single election. The people I know who do that, whose lives have been turned upside down in recent days, I think will still vote for her. I don't think it's going to change the way they vote. Maybe it will. Maybe they'll just finally get sick of it like they were with the crime, and they'll start changing their patterns. But that's a hard habit to break. And people are so tribal with their politics and with their partisanship that asking them to stop doing that is a big ask. But we'll see, because Karen Bass does have to run for re-election. And Rick Caruso is clearly running against her again. And he'll have the money, he'll have the resources Hopefully he'll run a better race this time. He ran a bad one last time. He got awful advice. But maybe this time it'll be different. I don't know. If you have the option of Rick Caruso and 4 more years of Karen Bass, and the city decides to vote for Karen Bass, I don't know what to say. How much proof do you need that she can't do this job? Her top priority was homelessness when she got in. And we funded all of these crooked groups, and we've rented out I don't know how many motel rooms, and it hasn't gotten better. It's worse. Only we're spending a lot more money. Name one thing that this woman has done that's worked. One thing. You think we're ready for the Olympics?
The car-free Olympics.
Fat chance. That's going to be a disaster. We'll see if people start voting differently. The jury's still out. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you missed yesterday's episode and want to find out what you missed out on, that's easy to do.
You want to relive the horror again? Sure. Go to KBC.com, click on podcasts.
And we're on the move in the Bay Area.
How exciting is this? We do the Fix California Hour weeknights at 11 on KSFO. KSFO has moved to a bigger, stronger signal, AM 810. That signal goes all the way to Sacramento, goes all the way to Northern California, and at night that signal is so powerful, it crosses state lines, it is heard in Canada, and it comes in crystal clear in Southern California. So on your radio presets, you got your 790 in position 1. Position 2, maybe it's KFI, I don't know. Position 3, why don't you put AM 810? And then if you happen to be around at 11 o'clock at night, listen to the Fixed California Hour.
So apparently, I know that 20 arrests have been made for looting after the fires from the evacuation zones. According to my feed on social media from people who live in those areas, the looting is more of a problem than being reported.
Well, we only know the arrests. I'm sure there are 5 times as much looting is going on as the people that got caught.
And what people are doing now is they're taking pictures of people driving through the neighborhoods, particularly those with out-of-state license plates. They're just driving through and kind of monitoring the situation, who's there, who's not there. And people are posting those pictures on social media and confronting the people as they're doing it.
Oh, my.
And speaking of the fires, Randy, you have an update for us.
This comes from the incredible Marla Tejas at Fox 11. CAL FIRE has reported new numbers for the Palisades fire as of 2:15. 19,978 acres burned. And are you ready for this? 5,316 structures have been destroyed with no containment.
You think that each house has, 2 to 4 people living in it?
Yeah.
That's a lot of people who have been displaced.
And that's not just homes, that's also businesses. We know of 2 major grocery stores that are gone, the Gelsons in the Palisades and the Ralphs in the Palisades. That was just in the news last week because they wanted to sue all the food trucks for taking up their parking. What a simpler time that was.
Certain things can be fixed quickly. If you're in an automobile accident, you take it to the body shop. Within a week, you'll probably have your car back. Your home burns down, and you have to go through the permitting process to rebuild your house. That could take over a year. I mean, just look how long my 4-month remodel took.
That was supposed to be 4 months?
4 months originally. Here I am 2.5 years later. Well, I guess I'm like everyone else in Gavin Newsom's California, homeless.
You really can feel everyone's pain.
I can. Let's go to Rick in Cerritos. Rick, hello.
Hey, how are you? I love your show.
Thank you.
Let me tell you, I sat on a Bellflower School water board a couple of years ago, and I learned quite a bit about water. Our infrastructure was built 75 to 100 years ago, and the pipes that we have in the ground today are not capable of handling that water. And they've known about this for years, and nobody wants to do anything about it. It's out of sight, out of mind, and it's going to cost a fortune to put new pipes in the ground. And the other thing is, if the general public knew how much water is wasted every day because of water leaks in our old pipes, they'd be having a fit. So I was born and raised in Long Beach, came out of Milliken in 1966, and my folks were born and raised here too. So I've seen a lot of change. But you can blame the LA City Council and these city council people for what's going on, because they know that we have water shortages, and they know that what the pipes that we have can't handle what we need. So,
well, and they just have a knee-jerk reaction, knee-jerk opposition to anything that produces more water. Because if you have more water, you have more development, you have more people, and they don't want any of that. So to limit the number of development, or the amount of development that we have, or the number of people who move to California, what they do is they try to artificially create a water shortage instead of creating the infrastructure that we need for a growing state and a large population.
You're absolutely right. You're 100% right. And they people just don't want to face it. It's going to cost a lot of money to replace these pipes. And then one of the other things I told them when I was on the board, I said, hey, when we rebuild these streets and we got to put new pipes around, let's put Edison, the gas department, and the water all in the same trench. And they were having fixed. They were going nuts. This can't happen. No, this won't work. Well, why not won't it work? So there's a lot involved in it. And the water business is a crazy business. But we don't have the water that we need, and it's not the water department's fault. It's the people who handle the money that bring the money down to the people who are going to use it. So I'm blaming Sharon Bass, LA City Council, and all these other city councils around here. They know what's going on, and they've just been putting it off, and they're to blame.
Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Ted in Burbank. Ted, hello.
Yeah, the real problem is, as I see it, as someone that lost a home in the Oakland Hills fire, is the fact that they don't let you rebuild. It is very difficult. I had a historic home. Fortunately, I had the original plans for the home that were improved in the 20s, and they had to rebuild it. But not only did we have that problem, we also had problem with contractor shortages. So all these people from out of California as contractors came in here and were trying to help you rebuild the houses. And many of them they weren't up to the standards of California. So we had enormous problems then. And the other problem was, once a lot of homes had been rebuilt, some of the contractors that came in from out of the area became angry. And my friend's home, who lived on Contra Costa Road, she had completed the house waiting for final inspection when suddenly a fire broke out, and her home was completely burned down. It was later found that was arson. So, I mean, this is like robbing people when they can't get into their homes, essentially. I mean, it's a very difficult thing to rebuild. I was fortunate because I had the go together for plans, but my friend was in her 80s at that time, and she had to rebuild her house twice. Nobody cares.
Well, and just imagine if you had to do it in a place like Malibu or in Pacific Palisades that's right on the coast. Not only do you have to deal with all of your city regulations, but you have to deal with the Coastal Commission, and they're a complete nightmare.
Yep. Well, it's amazing how nightmarish the rebuilding gets with the overwhelming problems that the city has to comply. I mean, they don't want to rebuild it the way it was. In my case, I had proof they had to rebuild it that way. But for the most part, they don't want to let you rebuild to the standard that they had way back when. You're stuck with modifying your plans.
Thank you for the call, sir. We appreciate it. Let's go to Steve in Huntington Beach. Steve, hello.
Thanks for taking my call. A different subject that I was going to mainly start talking about, but it took me a year just to room addition. I was in construction years back, so I know how to do a lot of construction, and it's all politics. I work for some companies, and inspectors would come out and, you know, kind of like say, are all these houses done correctly? Yeah. Okay, let me sign them off. I work for a company, and they're like nitpick every single. It's all politics, and it's BS. Trust me. And when I pulled my permits for my addition, I went down and they kept questioning me and say, "Hey, this wasn't permitted." I go, "Yes, it was. It was. It was like maybe 60 years ago. It was permitted." And they were saying, "No, we don't got the permits." I had to go through all my paperwork. I mean, like a lot of paperwork to go back, you know, like 40 years ago or something like that, and find my original paperwork that it was permitted. I went in there, and I just got hassled. They don't like builder owner permits. They hate that. And it's all politics, and they got to understand when you're rebuilding or whatever you're doing, we're paying their paychecks, and they kind of feel like, you know, they're doing you a favor by you know. But anyway, my main subject was the National Guard. What does it take for the National Guard to come out here? I mean, the National Guard should have been out over there, wherever, Hawaii, back east, the floods, on that day. Period. We're paying a lot of money for these National Guards to be out here to be helping our communities here. And I would be really upset if I was living over there, my house was burning, and finding out the National Guard is like maybe, you know, whatever they're doing, not doing something to be helping the citizens of this country. I think things like this, there's got to be some kind of bureaucracy, whatever, to be able to say, hey, National Guard, that day, okay, we're going to have strong winds, be ready. Boom. You come out there. You know, you have people already trained. I mean, you're moving cars, you're moving all the stuff that the police are now over there concentrating in Palos Verdes. They need to be out and throughout the city helping, you know, other places too, where the National Guard could be there saying, hey, doing all the dirty work, moving cars and moving traffic and making sure the fire trucks are in, et cetera, et cetera. The people that are homeless now, they could be like setting up, you know, temporary shelter. Just, you know what I mean? I don't know what it takes for the National Guard to be called out. I think it's that they're taking too long to
Steve, you're so passionate, and we really appreciate your candor, but there are certain words you can't say on the radio.
I'm sorry.
You sound sorry.
I'm sorry. No, yeah, but just like I just feel for these people that are homeless and the animals and all that. I just feel for it. I'm a very compassionate person, and I don't really cuss because I have a lot of grandkids that I got to watch out, you know?
I'm going to play this for them.
Thank you for the call, sir. I don't know about the National Guard, but I do know this. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if we had a fully funded fire department. If there's one city department whose budget should be okay, it's the fire department. But now we cut that. We have money for everything else, not fire. Here with a fire update, Mr. Randy Wang.
This comes from the account Los Angeles Scanner, who says there's a new fire at the 101 freeway in Valley Circle in Woodland Hills. It's approximately at 20 acres right now. Hopefully they get that one knocked down immediately, because that's the last thing we need.
And programming note, after the show, I'll be going on with Donald Trump Jr. on his program Triggered to talk about the California fires. Let's go to Mary in Diamond Bar. Mary, hello.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much for taking my call. God bless you. We have Highway Patrol, and I never hear anything about them. So I'm wondering, why can't they help with some of the problems with people, you know, being evacuated instead of having to leave their cars and things like that? You know, what's going on with the Highway Patrol? I never hear about it. I know we have National Guard, but Highway Patrol, where are they?
Well, I think they're trying to keep people from getting shot in Oakland.
That's a full-time job.
No, come on. We have our own LA County.
Thank you for the call. Let's go to George in Fullerton. George, hello.
Hey, John and Randy, thank you. You guys are doing a great job out there. But anyways, I want to speak my mind. I'm a 4-decade general contractor here in Southern California. I kind of grew up here, and I know what it's like. And in regards to pulling permits, there's too much bureaucracy. There's 4 departments you have to go through to pull permits, first of all. And you have to get through each one of them signed off before you can even start building your whatever project you have. I would completely recommend that the state give the private sector that authority to be able to do it on the side. And it would be such a faster process. And from experience, I've been here for a long time, and I've worked with certain cities, and they've gotten to know me, where I've been able to go to the city in one day and carry my plans through all 4 departments and get them signed off so I can get my permit, which is an 8 to 9 week process to do something like that. So these people, and I feel bad for them, and I think that the only way we're going to be able to pull permits and get this thing going would be through that process. And another thing, too, I heard the other caller talking about out-of-state contractors. I would be leery about that because a lot of people don't know some contractors will take your money and they're gone. And if they're out of state and they don't have a license here, you're in a heap of trouble. So that's
what city is the worst city to deal with for contracts or for permits, rather?
Los Angeles, Burbank, and Glendale.
All right. Thank
Los
you for the
Angeles
call.
is the worst.
I believe it. And I would imagine the coastal commission's in pain, too.
How about Palm Desert?
Let's go to Ben in Los Angeles. Ben, hello.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. So many things happen. We forget how Brazil burned for years. Their rainforest was polluting the whole earth, and we gave them hell. We told them, why can't you manage the jungle, which produces most of the oxygen in the world? That's everybody's business, and you should do a better job. Australia burned for years, and everybody realized if you don't manage your resources, especially in a drought, you can literally lose maybe a whole region, maybe your whole country. Now,
that's right. That's an incredible point, Ben, and I'm not cutting you off because we're late for a break.
That's going to do it for us today. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on Talk Radio 790 KABC.